Last week we talked about the lion. The lion is the natural leader, the natural born leader, the take charge person. Take that hill, pilgrim. You know, if you want to motivate a lion, tell him he can't do something, and he'll like, oh yeah? Yeah, watch me, you know. So they thrive on opposition, very competitive, very strong temperaments, the type A personality. They get a lot done. We also talked about the otters. Now, otter is the most lovable personality of all. I mean, they have more fun than any other personality, but they tend not to be very highly organized. And so while the otters are having a lot of fun, they don't get a whole lot done because they're so busy having fun and telling stories and talking. They're the professional talker, make great motivational speakers, entertainers. Most of the people you see on TV and sitcoms and whatnot are just 100% over-the-top otters, and they can just entertain you for hours. They're just hilarious. They have great antics and are lots of fun. But otters need to kind of balance themselves out and force themselves to get organized. They love to start things, have a hard time finishing things. So for otters, it's very, very important that the otter finishes what they start. And that takes a lot of discipline. It runs contrary to their nature because they'd rather talk about it than do it. You know, and that's because the otter's motto is life should be fun. You know, everybody lighten up. You know, let's have some fun. Let's make this fun. So otters are extremely lovable. Now we're going to talk about the golden retriever, the dog people. I mean, the golden retrievers. I'm teasing my wife. She's a golden retriever. So, the golden retriever's motto is to be faithful. They are the most loyal, faithful people. That's why they're called golden retriever in this terminology. There are, by the way, the same four temperaments are represented in all manner of corporate tests. You may have taken them on the job. But this is the easiest way to remember them. If we talked about choleric and sanguine and phlegmatic and whatever the other one is, melancholy, then you'd walk out of here and like, yeah, I know, yeah, that one, you know, that one with the long name. But if we use the animal names, everybody can remember this. And I heard Gary Smalley years ago, and he was talking about this, and Gary Smalley was a psychologist, and he has a lot of otter. You talk about an entertaining speaker, that guy can keep you in stitches for hours just telling stories. And so I heard him telling, you know, talking about the lions and the otters, golden retrievers and beavers, and it is absolutely hilarious. If you ever come across any of his tapes or videos or whatever, you know, watch him because you'll learn so much from it, and it'll make you laugh the whole time. So, golden retrievers their favorite saying is, don't get excited, it's not that big a deal. Let's keep things the way they are. They tend to be the most even-keeled person on the planet. In fact, if it was not for, you know, imagine what life would be like if everybody was a lion. There would be constant fighting and fur flying and everybody fighting over their turf and trying to figure out who's the best and who can accomplish the most. And it would be all chiefs and no Indians. Nobody to do the work. And if everybody was an otter, they'd all be telling stories and vying to see, you know, who could be the center of attention. But, you know, the golden retrievers are kind of like the buffer zones between all these other weird temperaments. And they bring sanity to the whole mix of the human race. Without golden retrievers, you know, I don't know what this planet would be. It would be really crazy. So they even out everything. They make life so much nicer. They're the most pleasant people you will ever meet. They're the easiest of all the temperaments to get along with. Now, they are introverts. They're quiet. They're shy frequently. They can be somewhat pessimistic, but they are very peaceful, and they love the status quo. They just like things kind of staying the same, harmonious, everybody getting along. Let's just, you know, once we get it going, let's just keep it that way. But they are true all-purpose people, extremely adaptable. That's why frequently you'll find golden retrievers married to lions, because they're about the only temperament, many times, that can adapt to that strong-willed lion. And they'll put up with the lion. whereas maybe some of the other temperaments will not. There would be too much head banging. One of the hardest combinations is the lion and the beaver in a marriage, because the lion is so strong in wanting to do things, and he makes decisions. It's kind of a hip shot, just intuitive, yeah, my gut tells me to do this, and they'll make very fast decisions. But on the other hand, the beaver wants to analyze, do the research, and make a decision-making, a long, protracted research project where we have to evaluate and research everything under the sun, every way it's ever been done before, and then, having evaluated everything that's been done, now we'll make a decision based on all the evidence. And so you can see, just in the decision-making process alone, that lions and beavers can have a conflict. So it's interesting. I have another handout we'll give out to you in a little bit about the conflicts between the temperaments, and just some of the real common ones that happen, each temperament with all the various other ones. So we'll hand that out to you before the class is over. If I forget, remind me. Okay. Golden Retrievers, they're steady, consistent, reliable, faithful, dependable. Best employees you'll ever have. They're always consistent, faithful. They'll be there on time, and they will not rock the boat, and they'll do their job without creating a lot of ripples while they're doing it. In fact, once they know how to do the job, they'll just keep doing it over and over and over. They make wonderful employees. In fact, they even make wonderful bosses, because they're so compassionate and sensitive to the needs of other people that they get along well with everybody. And so once they learn and kind of get over their initial shyness of taking charge and making decisions, they can actually be very wonderful leaders at work and in the church and elsewhere. They're great listeners, empathizers, and encouragers, the closest thing we know of to a balanced person. In fact, a golden retriever acts like a Christian even before they become a Christian, because they're sensitive. They care about other people naturally. So that's an interesting thing about them. They're not extreme people. They tend to avoid conflict and work quietly in the workplace. They're calm. They're unexcited. They don't get too excited when something's going on. They can be just kind of cool and, just calm everybody down. They're a calming influence wherever they are. They have a wonderful and dry sense of humor, because they don't take life too seriously. By the way, golden retrievers are not all that impressed with all the great doings of the lions. They're not overly impressed with the great storytelling abilities of the otters, and nor are they overly impressed with the grandiose, intricate, perfectionistic plans of the beavers. They're very practical, and they just kind of tend to say, okay, what do we need to actually do next? What is the practical thing to do? And so they're less concerned for the visions and the drama and the great planning of some of the other temperaments. They do have high standards of accuracy. They make wonderful lifelong friends and can become very good counselors and even leaders. Many golden retrievers are still friends with the children that they went to school with in first grade or second grade or third grade or high school. They still keep in touch with them, because that's just the kind of people that they are. They have a strong need for close relationships. They're very loyal to those that they love. They have a deep need to please others. But they do have a quiet will of iron when they're pushed too far. Now, golden retrievers, they'll take a lot. But if you push them up to a certain point, you can push them too far. When you push them over the line, you're done. They have a quiet will of iron, and you might talk them off of that once or twice, but eventually you keep pushing them, they're done, they're going to walk away. So they do have a quiet will of iron. When they've given, and they can't give anymore, they're done. They're worn out, and they can't take it anymore. So it's good to know. They hold strongly to what they feel is right, but some of their weaknesses are they struggle with fear and timidity. Fear is a big issue for golden retrievers. They do have a hard time making decisions, because they don't want to offend anybody. They want to please everybody. And to make a decision, you can't please everybody. You just have to make a decision that you think is the right decision. So if you ask a golden retriever where they want to go to dinner, They'll have a hard time telling you because they don't want to offend anybody. And they'll say, well, I don't care. Where do you want to go? So if you get two golden retrievers together, they may sit in the parking lot for 5 minutes debating where they want to go to dinner because, and eventually they'll make a decision, but sometimes it takes time. They tend to avoid confrontation by hiding their feelings and sometimes failing to communicate. They'd rather take it and grin and bear it than to object to what's going on. But that's where golden retrievers have to learn to set boundaries, and one of the things they do need to do is learn to say no. That's because they tend to say yes to everything. They can become doormats and people pleasers, but as they get older, they do that less and less, and they do begin to set boundaries. And then those who are used to getting their way with golden retrievers suddenly, like, what happened to them? They've changed, and they're not sure they like the change because suddenly they're standing up for themselves. They do dislike change. They prefer familiar, harmonious, secure environments. So how do you balance out the golden retriever? Well, their natural compassion for others is going to draw them many times out of their shyness and timidity. When the Holy Spirit comes into a golden retriever, suddenly they'll become strong for others where sometimes they can't be strong for themselves. And so strength will rise up out of them. And one of the things you can do to help balance out if you're a golden retriever is practice trying new things. Joyce Meyer says, do it afraid. Yes. If you have to, just do it afraid. Don't put things off. Golden retrievers do have a tendency to procrastinate at times, so they need to learn to motivate themselves. And unlike the lion, who always has visions, goals, plans, and dreams, and is always motivated from the moment he awakes. In fact, even before he wakes himself up at 4 o'clock and can't go back to sleep because he's thinking about his plans for the day and what all he's going to accomplish. Golden retrievers, it helps them if they learn to motivate themselves and learn to make decisions and learn to say no when it's appropriate. Their faith and trust in God is going to help them overcome inhibitions and become more outgoing. So what is the golden retriever's gift? Well, it's compassion, loyalty, and dependability. You can always count on a golden retriever person. And God's message through the golden retriever is this: be caring, be loyal, be dependable, and be supportive of others. Be sensitive to others.